Now we will talk a little more about what the Better Streets for Buses plan is. Our goals for the plan are to prioritize bus performance and access to transit for people and in places with the highest needs, improve the bus experience for current riders and make it more attractive to prospective riders, and establish a citywide framework that guides how CTA and CDOT utilize infrastructure to achieve faster and more reliable bus service, improved access to bus stops, and better bus stops. Next slide. The two main components of the plan are a citywide network of corridors for prioritizing future street treatments and a toolbox of street treatments to consider as solutions for reducing bus travel times and improving the bus passenger experience. The Better Streets for Buses plan is intended as a framework plan and will not assign specific street treatments to corridors. For example, it will not say Street X will get a bus lane and Street Y will get bus priority signals. These decisions must be part of a more detailed corridor and neighborhood level studies that look closely at the needs and current uses of a street, as well as the feasibility of implementing any specific tool. However, feedback gathered through the outreach process will help inform those decisions as we refine the toolbox and the network and help guide future bus priority improvements citywide. A proposed network and a proposed toolbox have been developed and are now being presented for public comment. Next, we'll tell you more about each of them, starting with the toolbox.
The proposed toolbox of street treatments includes 21 tools in 3 categories: bus stop treatments, bus-friendly streets, and bus-friendly intersections. Each tool can help with one or more of the following: improve the experience of accessing or waiting for the bus, help streamline bus movement to reduce bus travel times, and make trips more reliable and comfortable. Most of these tools have some trade-offs involved. For example, they may require repurposing of space, reconfiguration of streets or intersections, or making adjustments to signal faces. More information about these considerations is available on the website in the Toolbox of Street Treatments document or the Toolbox chapter of the draft plan. In the interest of time, we are not going to go into detail about all 21 tools here, but we want to give you a sample, and at the end of the presentation, we can talk more about any tools you may want to know more about. Next slide. The first category is bus stop treatments. These tools apply to the bus stop, waiting areas, and nearby sidewalks and crossings that are used to access the bus stops. 2 examples include level or near level boarding, which involves building a raised curb at bus stops so that passengers do not have to step up or down as much as they would at a typical bus stop. This can make getting on and off the bus easier and faster, especially for those with mobility impairments or strollers. Another example is bus stop improvements, which can include adding shelter, seating, lighting, or signs that show the arrival of the next bus in order to make waiting for the bus more pleasant. The second category of tools is bus-friendly streets. These mainly impact bus operations by keeping buses out of traffic to reduce delays or conflicts with other modes at stops. The most well-known bus priority tool in this category is a bus lane, which is a travel lane dedicated for bus-only use so that buses can keep moving even when general traffic is congested. There are several different configurations of bus lanes, including curbside, median, and offset. The one pictured on the left is a curbside bus lane. Bus lanes can be short or long lengths of a street and can be reserved for buses at all times of day or just during specified times, such as rush hour. They can also be shared with right turn lanes near intersections. The other example shown on this slide is a bus boarding island. This is a tool that can be used in conjunction with bike lanes. It is a concrete island where bus riders can wait, board, and get off the bus that separates the bike lane from the general traffic lane, so that buses accessing a bus stop do not have to cross over the bike lane. This helps organize the space and improve safety and comfort for all users. Next slide. The third and final category of tools is bus-friendly intersections. These tools relate to the signals and signs that control vehicle, bike, and pedestrian movements through intersections. The Q-jump signal, shown on the left, is a special bus-only signal that gives buses an early go light to allow buses to jump ahead of waiting traffic at an intersection. Traffic signal priority, illustrated on the right, is a signal system that allows an approaching bus to send a request to the traffic signal to modify light timing, typically by extending the green light for a few seconds. This can be programmed in a number of ways and is often set up to be triggered only when buses are behind schedule. Next slide.
You can see examples of many of these tools in Chicago as well as in other cities. Jeffrey Jump is a bus priority project implemented in 2012 on Jeffrey Boulevard, with the most significant changes between 67th and 83rd Streets. These included peak hour curbside bus lanes, traffic signal priority, and enhanced bus stop areas. A second major bus priority project was implemented downtown a few years later and is used by the Jeffrey Jump and 6 other bus routes. Loop Link runs along portions of Washington, Madison, Clinton, and Canal Streets and utilizes red bus lanes that are in effect all day. On Washington and Madison, there are a number of Q-jump signals and stops are served by long raised bus platforms with additional seating, bus tracker signs, and snow melt systems. On Washington, these platforms are also essentially extra long versions of bus boarding islands with a bike lane running behind them. Bus priority zones are smaller projects, several of which were implemented in 2019, mainly along Chicago Avenue and 79th Street. The goal of bus priority zones is to target pinch points along major routes and implement key bus priority treatments in order to speed up these bus slow zones that are typically caused by congestion, insufficient space for boardings, or intersection bottlenecks. Elements of bus priority zone projects can include things like short stretches of bus lanes, Q-jump signals, and expanded boarding areas. The example shown is on Chicago Avenue at the intersection of Milwaukee, Ogden, and May Streets. The intersection was modified to include short bus lanes and add pedestrian space at the high ridership bus stop connecting to the Blue Line.
Now that we've reviewed the types, excuse me if that was, y'all heard that feedback, excuse me. Now that we've reviewed the types of tools in the proposed toolbox of street treatments, we'd like to know which, if any, you'd like to see more of in your neighborhood. Please select your top 1 or 2 choices from the following answers. Number 1, changes to sidewalks and crossings to make bus stops easier and safer to access. Number 2, changes to street configurations that give the bus its own lane. Number 3, changes to the signals that give buses an advantage. Number 4, changes to bus stops to make them more comfortable. Number 5, no changes. And number 6 is other. Again, if you picked other, drop more details for us in the chat. Okay. Top vote getter looks like number 3 is changes to signals that give buses an advantage at 67%. And at 64%, we have number 2, changes to street configurations that give the bus its own lane. Thank you, guys.
Now we'll talk more about the proposed Better Streets for Buses network to help answer the question, where? The light blue lines on the map shown show the proposed network for the Better Streets for Buses plan. This proposed network was developed using analysis of bus ridership, speeds, and frequency, along with consideration of geographic completeness and equity. It may look at first glance like the blue lines show CTA's entire bus network, but in fact, the proposed network includes a little over half of CTA's route miles, which is about 14% of all City of Chicago streets. You might think this is too big of a network, too small, or just about right, depending on your point of view. And we want to emphasize that this network is very much open for comment. We also want to be clear that this is not proposed to be a network where every street gets a bus lane. Essentially, if a corridor is identified in the Better Streets for Buses plan, it means that CTA and CDOT may recommend future changes to the street's infrastructure and layout to improve bus performance and the bus rider experience, potentially utilizing any of the tools in the toolbox of street treatments. The proposed network includes 45 neighborhood corridors, as well as 16 downtown corridors that are not listed here. The proposed network is available to review in a number of formats. The map shown in the previous slide is available as a downloadable and printable map. The network can also be viewed as an interactive and zoomable map on the project website. It can be viewed as a summary list of corridors, as in this slide. And finally, it is also available as a detailed list of street segments, since some bus corridors include more than one street. There are a number of factors that can inform the selection of the right street network for Better Streets for Buses. For example, the map on the left shows the proportion of travelers in vehicles using buses based on 2017 data. Street segments in darker red show where over 40% of the people traveling in vehicles, motorized vehicles, were on buses. Some people think this criteria, also known as high mode share, is a good way to filter which streets should be in the proposed network. But there are certainly other factors to consider: demographic and socioeconomic factors, bus stop conditions, bus speeds, etc. You can take a closer look at the data we have mapped in the Learn More section of the project website, as well as in the draft plan document. But you may have other ideas on criteria and data we should look at as well.
So now we'd like to do our final poll to hear what you think about what factors should be used to help pick the network for Better Streets for Buses. Please select your top 1 or 2 choices from the following answers. 1, bus routes with the most riders. 2, bus routes with slow or unreliable bus travel times. Number 3, streets with bus stops that need improvements. Number 4, neighborhoods that need investment. Number 5, streets that need pedestrian improvements. Number 6, streets with high bus mode share, percent of people in vehicles that are on buses. Number 7 is other. Remember, if you picked other, drop more details in the chat.